Hello, everyone, and I'd like to welcome you. My name is Lisa Levinson, and I'm one of the co-founders of the Interfaith Vegan Coalition, and also work for In Defense of Animals, where we help to provide emotional and spiritual tools for animal activists. And today we're having a very exciting online dialogue about the role of animal advocacy in the interfaith community. So this is part of a larger initiative that's going on called World Interfaith Harmony Week. And so we joined in with this collaborative event to bring in the discussion about animal advocacy. So we're really fortunate to have you observing and participating. You're welcome to type in any feed or chat box that you have access to. And we're having a dialogue with some folks who are participating in the discussion. So you may hear other people talking as well. And so thanks to everyone for joining us today. So what I'd like to do is just begin the conversation because some of us attended the Parliament of World Religions, and we were really thrilled to see some vegan advocacy being done there. And we're hoping to engage the community even more at the next Parliament. But there's definitely people in the interfaith world who are also animal advocates. And that's what we wanted to talk about today. The role of how animal rights, animal advocacy, and having compassion for animals is part of the interfaith world, or we would like to engage more interfaith leaders in this discussion. So just like to take a moment and welcome anyone who's here and find out if you'd like to you could just say a word or two about your interest in this topic or connection to the topic. And again, I'm very interested in this topic because I, as part of the Interfaith Vegan Coalition, have put together some, they're called we call them kits. They're called vegan advocacy kits, and they're great resources for people who are spiritual, who advocate for animals, and who are part of a faith-based community. And they may want to reach out and encourage their community to adopt some animal-friendly practices, various events, and also such as showing different movies to the community. So we've developed religion-specific advocacy kits for many of the world religions, and they're posted on our website, which is interfaithvegancoalition.org, and you'll see a button you can click to access those advocacy kits, which are free, and you can download them directly from the website. So that's a tool, one tool that we have that people can use if they want to engage in that dialogue within their community. So I'd like to hear a little bit from other folks who are with us today, if anybody's willing to share your interest in this topic. And because of the online version of this dialogue, I may just reach out and just call on you if you are available, because that way we won't talk over each other. So I'm just wondering if Reverend Robert, would you like to say a word or two about your interest and in this meeting?
Yeah, sure. Thank you. My name is Reverend Robert Ugen Doshin. I'm a Soto Zen priest and currently founder of the Animal Liberation Temple here in Phoenix, Arizona. This work that I'm just now being introduced to sounds like wonderful, phenomenal work. I'm really interested in finding out more about this and how what kind of role I might play in it. Specifically for my temple, like it is majority vegans already,
Mm-hmm.
so I'm not exactly sure where I would fit in, but I'm very interested and open to hear new ideas.
Oh, wow, this is so exciting. I'm so glad that we've connected. There's some great resources that we have to share. One of them, we have actually a Buddhist kit on the Interfaith Vegan Coalition website, and you may be familiar with Dharma Voices for Animals.
Yes, I am. I'm very familiar.
Okay, very good. Because they're a member of our coalition, and your group is welcome to be too. I'm so thrilled to learn about you. And in your area, you may be familiar with the work of Dr. Silas Rao, and also there's a group called Souls Unfolding that's in Arizona that also has interfaith vegan congregants. So this is very exciting. And so we'll talk more about this after the introductions and see ways that we can interweave what we're doing and highlight each other's work. Sounds very exciting. And how about is Jackie or Jacques?
Hi, this is Jackie.
Jackie. Okay, thank you.
Just want to say hi to everyone. It's funny you were mentioning Souls Unfolding because I am a core member of Souls Unfolding. And I
Wonderful.
I work very closely with Silas Rao. He is one of the advisors of my new nonprofit, and I'm starting a school in the Phoenix area. Basically, we want to train the new generation of climate healers.
Oh my goodness, we are so lucky to have such um, leaders in our community participate in this dialogue today. I think this is really exciting. Thank you for sharing a bit about yourself, Jackie.
Well,
And
thank you.
uh, Trish, if you'd like, you can share a word or two. Up to you.
Hi, Lisa. I'll just say a quick hi, and I'm not a big player in the in this movement at all. I'm afraid I'm just a simple practitioner, um, and I'm currently. It's very interesting. Both of the people that just introduced themselves, I just received information about online, so it's quite interesting the timing. And I'm really looking to connect with more people that are practitioners, and especially for myself as a Buddhist practitioner, I'm finding it very challenging because I find that I can't really speak my truth in the groups that I'm in. When it comes to animal issues, I have to keep silent. Otherwise, there's a lot of negative discussion, we'll call it, that goes on, and I'm finding it a bit challenging to deal with that. So hopefully during this discussion, I'll find some resources and support about that. Thank you all.
Mm. Thank you, Trish, for sharing your concerns, and definitely that's part of our intention for today, and also to welcome everyone, uh, big player, little player, however you see yourself in this. We're all doing our part to raise consciousness and awareness about the animals within the interfaith community. So thank you, Trish. And Diane?
Yes, hi, I'm Diane, and I'm not a big player either, but I do attend the Unity Church here in Wichita, and I've been, I'm anxiously awaiting the release of a prayer for compassion. I hope to be able to show that at church. I'm also really excited about the Interfaith Vegan Coalition having a booth at the Unity Convention this year, and I'm interested in maybe helping out with that. So just just looking forward to everything that's coming up.
Wow. Well, thank you, Diane, for joining us and for mentioning a couple of these things. Diane is part of our Interfaith Vegan Coalition, and so we do have some really exciting projects. We're going to be having tables at some faith-based events, and one of them is a Unity Convention. So we'll be trying to raise awareness through a table there, and you're welcome to help us to be part of that initiative, and it's in your area, so that'll be a really exciting move. So we have Reverend Carol Saunders is going to be part of that, and also Judy Carmen. So those are people I can connect you with. Um, and so now, one other person we have on board with us today, and I don't have a name associated with you. The number starts with 650 as the area code. Would you be willing to just share a little bit about yourself?
Hi, this is Gina, and I'm calling in. That's why you don't have my name on there. And I was really excited to see that you had the table at Jana listed. I helped with the Jane Interfaith Vegan Coalition Advocacy Kit, was referred by Hope Ohanek, which is really great. And we've invited Salish Rao to our convention to speak, the Jane Convention. And I'm also part of a Buddhist group, Mindful Peace Building, and we hosted a screening of A Prayer for Compassion, and it was really good. We had a really good conversation. Salish actually was included in a Q&A. People had a chance to have a discussion with him, and it was really, really good. So just happy to hear what others are doing and hear more about what's going on.
Wow, this is so amazing. What a synchronistic group we have here today. I just sent out an email to our Interfaith Vegan Coalition letting them know that we are going to have a booth at the upcoming Jane convention, which will be in the Los Angeles area in July. And so that could be something that you could get involved into. And of course, Silas is the one who connected us with
Yeah,
that group.
I'm definitely involved in that. I'm one of the committee leads for the Ahimsic Eco-Vegan Committee of Jana, and Salish and I had been talking about getting the booth, so I'm involved.
Well, the exciting news is we just had a meeting yesterday, and a generous donor has stepped up to put all the funds forward for that booth. So we will definitely have a booth there, and that's very exciting. So we'll be gathering materials for that, and we're also hoping to put together a type of new brochure, maybe some kind of video to address people who are vegetarian, because at the Parliament of World Religions, we met so many vegetarians who identified with the vegan, the vegans at the Parliament, and so we thought it would be really great to have literature that addressed them specifically and in a kind, loving, and gentle way shared a little bit about the journey from vegetarianism to veganism, because many of us took that journey. So I think we'll have those resources available at that Jaina conference coming up.
I think that's entirely appropriate because Jains in general are vegetarian. Many are resisting veganism. They've been exposed to it. So a kind way of introducing that to people would be great. And also we have speakers that are addressing the transition from vegetarian to vegan. We have speakers addressing climate change and addressing health aspects of veganism. So maybe what we can do is have like a list of the speaker times and locations available at the booth, and maybe even have the possibility of Sailish's movie being kind of shown in snippets or something like that at the booth. But I'm happy to work more on ideas and kind of keep everyone informed about the larger program that's happening, because we want to have it all kind of complement each other.
Oh, wonderful. This is so excellent. I'm just thrilled to hear about all of these interweaving efforts to promote veganism and raise awareness in the faith-based communities. So I think the answer is yes, 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 and to all the things you just shared. We actually we had an Interfaith Vegan Coalition booth at the Parliament in November that happened in Toronto, Canada, and while we were there, we printed out some of our vegan advocacy kits and gave them out to people, and we also showed exactly what you're talking about. We had a video screen set up and we showed a little trailer of A Prayer for Compassion, and at the conference itself, Silas arranged a full screening. So with no doubt he will do the same thing at the Jaina conference coming up, the convention, and it wasn't too hard to arrange to have the video monitor there, so that's something we can definitely look into in setting up the booth. And we also have so Dr. Lisa Kemmerer, who is a professor of world religions, actually, and has written a book on that, she curated an exhibit. It's actually a pop-up museum exhibit, and that was part of our booth. We brought that to the booth at the Parliament of World Religions, and there is one on Jainism, and so that might be another thing that would enhance the booth there. So we'll definitely bring in all the resources that we can. the event, the Jaina Convention, is in Los Angeles, which is where all these materials happen to be located right now. So there'll be a definite easy way to align all of these efforts.
That's amazing. And maybe we can talk more offline, but I'll just briefly mention that there's someone also trying to organize a demonstration of cruelty-free vegan products separately than my committee. And so any reference for us to people in the LA area, or this is at Ontario Convention Center, so a larger LA area that might have clothing, cosmetics, shoes that they might want to have available or just show demos of, that would be really great too.
Oh, yes, another yes, because there are some wonderful vegan, like, let's call them the health and wellness centers that are just starting in the Los Angeles area. There's one called Allura Wellness. They have clothing and other things that they sell. There's another place called the Vegan Scene, which sells vegan products. So that's one thing about the LA area. You'll definitely find there's a lot of vegan entrepreneurs, and so we'll talk offline, like you mentioned, and make those connections so that those efforts can be really promoted at the convention there. I also wanted to address, Trish made a question, and this is a good question, which is, when is the next parliament and where will it be? So that is an unanswered question right now, because the parliament itself, it's not an annual event. I think they've been doing it every 2 or 3 years. And so we have set up a little parliament committee, and the goal of our parliament committee is to help to veganize the next parliament. For those of you who don't know, at the end of the parliament, in the closing ceremony, a Swami who was there just shouted out to everyone that the next parliament should be vegan. So we are taking that literally, and we've put together a proposal. So Dr. Silas Rao is involved. There's Charlotte Cressy, Judy Carmen, Frank Lane, several of us who helped to put together a vegan banquet through the Charter for Compassion at the Parliament. Several of us are meeting, and anyone's welcome to join us to help the Parliament organizers and trustees to bring veganism into their view, into their programming. So there's a lot that's going on behind the scenes right now. So we're definitely moving forward on that. And right now we're at the step where we've submitted a proposal, and we're going to present that to the trustees. So anybody who's interested, you could let me know. Either if you're watching online, you could message our vegan spirituality group. You can also email me directly. And one easy way to remember that is you could email me at interfaith@idausa.org, and I'll put that in our chat box here. So if anybody wants to do that, that would be a good way to stay connected. And you can join our Interfaith Vegan Coalition too. That's something you can do we have a Facebook group, and we also have a website that's interfaithvegancoalition.org, and that's another way you can reach out to us. Just putting out a few different ways here. And there we go. Also want to let you all know that you may be able to hear the kitty in the background is Chico. He's joining us for our meeting. So just wanted to introduce him as well. Well, let's take a moment and about some of these initiatives, some of these, and even the larger question of what is the role of animal activists in the faith-based communities. And I will start it out with something that many of you probably know, but the late, great animal rights philosopher, Tom Regan, he was involved in some of the spiritual communities and trying to reach out to them through some of his efforts. He put together a video, I think it was called Noah and Animal Rights or something along those lines many years ago. But he put out this call to action saying that that we need to wake this he called it the sleeping giant of religion, because religion, many people around the world are aligned with religion of some kind. And one of the principles of most of these religions is compassion, and just extending that circle of compassion to all living beings is a very natural next step. So there's a lot of interesting projects going on around that. And I think part of what we want to do, at least our Interfaith Vegan Coalition and In Defense of Animals, is to begin to engage with the interfaith community. So rather than doing separate things, we want to weave our events into what they're doing, so that it's a way of doing this advocacy and outreach work. So for example, and this is something you can all join in on, there is a effort every year. It's called the International Golden Rule Day, and it happens on April 5th this year. And there's a simple form on their website to host an event. And when you do that, people around the world are going to see this, because it's I think they have some kind of 24-hour video representation of all of these events that people are streaming and watching. So it's something where we can all get involved and share some of our messages to people, to an audience of people who are spiritually invested in what we're sharing. So this goes to anybody who's on our call, but that's one thing we could chat about, is how to get involved in that event. And the other way that we're reaching out is through attending and getting tables at some of these faith-based events, like the Jaina Convention, the Unity Convention. There may be others that are specific to different religions that we can attend and just let them know we're here. And I think we'll find a lot more allies, people who come up to us and say, hi, either I'm vegan at heart, or I've been vegetarian, my whole adult life, and how meaningful it is to them. And one thing that we found from doing the booth at the Parliament is that how important it is to acknowledge and celebrate that decision, and then to be encouraging about taking a second look at our decisions. So that's a couple ideas I wanted to throw out as different ways that we could really get involved in these communities. I'm just wanting to know if anyone else has other ideas, other thoughts, concerns that you might want to share. I'd also like to welcome Beth to our conversation. Thank you for joining us. And if you want to say a word or two about your involvement, you're welcome to do that. So let's see. Anyone open to sharing some ideas or concerns they have about their role in the interfaith community? Bringing in it seems like many of us in this interfaith dialogue are animal activists, I would say, and so I'm curious about if there's a place that you would see yourself or your organization moving into. What are some of the roadblocks that you've run into? Let's have a few moments to discuss those things. And you're welcome to just start talking. That's fine too, if you have a question or concern. So let's see. It may work for me to reach out to people. I'm wondering about, so Reverend Robert, and if you wouldn't mind sharing some of your concerns, some of your initiatives that you want to bring into the interfaith community.
So I would say, thank you for calling on me. I would say that a lot of my work revolves around already existing vegans and nurturing the idea that that veganism already aligns with their spirituality, because they face a lot of like hardships themselves. around other family members and even people of the same faith, as well as encouraging these individuals to get active in the activist community as a form of healing. So a lot of my work revolves around that and not so much vegan advocacy.
Hmm. Well, that is a big part of sustaining a vegan community. Really key because people, when they don't have that support, they tend to drift out of the vegan lifestyle. And so you are doing advocacy, in my view, to be able to really create a strong community there and one that feels supported. So that's great. And you can, if you want to, reach out in other ways as well. And I think that one thing that's very helpful within the Buddhist community is that Dharma Voices for Animals has a lot of great resources on their website, specifically for engaging Buddhists in the dialogue about how can we take one more step towards compassionate living without being judgmental. So that's something that may be interesting to some of the people that you connect with.
Yes, I agree. I will definitely look at their resources as well. Um, I think the Buddhist community here in our neighborhood or in our area tends to be pretty isolated, and um, so it may make it difficult to just get through the door. So and I think that maybe other faiths may also be having these similar issues, and I'd love to hear ideas on just getting into the door, right? Just getting that initial conversation started.
So just to clarify, so that initial conversation, is that with the members of your community, or is it with people outside the community?
I would say people outside of the of my you know Buddhist and vegan community, um, more like other Buddhist community members that I do not have a well-established relationship with. So
Mhm.
how do you go about establishing those relationships?
Okay, that is a great question. I think that's something we can chat about. It sounds similar to something that Trish was mentioning about um, a little bit earlier as well. So I think that one way could be, if you wanted to reach out using the tools of Dharma Voices for Animals. They actually have something called the Eyes and Ears form on their website, which you can bring to, if you're reaching out to other Buddhist communities, just to have a meeting with their facilities manager, and and the questionnaire that they have really has people write down if they're using cruelty-free products to clean their bathroom, very basic things like that. Um, it also asks just questions, and then it'll give you some insight into, would you be willing to take the next step by just purchasing cruelty-free products to clean your bathroom. And one thing that Dharma Voices for Animals offers is they actually will pay the difference for these temples. If they're willing to take the next step, they'll pay the difference in, the price that they're paying for the cleaning solutions. I'm sure it's a very minor difference, but if the financial piece is a hardship, they mention that on that form. So I think there's a lot of incentive to reach out. That might be one way to reach out, maybe to the other communities, not just to the individuals, but to the people who manage those communities. Um, and I'm eager to hear from other people as well, any ideas that you have about how to. I think that the question that was brought up is really pertinent to all of our faith communities. How do we reach out um, from um, our vegan uh, friends, let's say, to the other people within our tradition who have not embraced a vegan lifestyle? Let's see. You're welcome to share. If once you start talking, we will be able to hear you, or I can again reach out to people to see if they have any insight, any ideas. Um, let's see. How about Jackie? Would you like to share anything about that topic?
Um, sure. I'm actually here, like Robert, to kind of get some ideas, a little background as to how I even got here may help. We had a screening last night for Prayers of Compassion.
Yeah.
Silesh came and we did a Q&A. It was very interesting, a lot of the responses that we got. Um, I started, this journey started for health. And it blossomed into as when I attended the T. Colin Campbell Nutrition Studies Center, learned about the animal cruelty, and it became social justice issues for me.
Mm-hmm.
And it started almost marrying together all of my other social justice, because I'm also an education reform activist. And so all those pieces started coming together, and I was fighting social justice issues at the state level to try to reform education. But then I started marrying together all of these interconnected issues and started realizing, after I took the World Peace Diet Facilitator Training Program, how these are all just one giant social justice issue. And through helping with Silesh and working so closely with him, started realizing that this is a consciousness issue. And I've studied a lot of the wisdom traditions, and I'm also in the process right now of completing a course for conscious parenting to go out into the community and help parents understand that there's nothing wrong with the children, that it's we as adults that have not elevated our consciousness. And so that's kind of how I got to the school and realized that we need to help vulnerable communities that are being denied healthy food, nutrition, the truth about nutrition, access to medical care. So it kind of, to me, started during the conversation last night. I started realizing that this, my mission is that this is a consciousness issue, and what it looks like in the form-based world is a vegan world. And I started thinking about, if I want to go out there as someone that was raised Roman Catholic and now is part of an interfaith spiritual group that is my home, my family. It's where I feel so authentic, so real. That's the gift I want to go into other faith-based communities and understand that it's the consciousness that we are completely oppressed. It's our authenticity that is oppressed. And what it looks like once we embody this, and we find those truths about the core wisdom and the core underlying truths, that it'll manifest, it'll look like a vegan world. So I'm not fighting for a vegan world, I'm fighting for a raise of consciousness and what it looks like. And I think that's what I'm trying to understand, how I can go about that and visit these communities, especially where are so vulnerable that they feel victimized, they feel helpless, and the power is on the outside. To help them understand that the power comes from within, and when they remember and they realize that inner worth and that inner divinity, and they start having that integrity within themselves, that it automatically will manifest into a vegan world, and they'll be able to make those connections on their own. And that's what I'm hoping to find support and guidance as to how to go about doing that, and visiting the churches that I have friends that are very interested, but as soon as we mention, well, let me meet with, the leader of your church, then it's closed off. So it's like how to invite them in. But anytime you mention vegan, it's all like shut down, like judgment, doors closed. I really want to talk about the underlying social justice issues is the reason why the vegan world is the answer. We're looking at the answers and finding the answers, but we're not looking at the cause. That's just what it looks like on the outside. But what we're really fighting for is our sovereignty. And I'm sorry that was long-winded. I just wanted to explain my position.
Oh, it was beautiful. I think you have everything
Ah,
you need just by speaking your truth. When you share your feelings and come from a perspective of yourself, which is what Dr. Will Tuttle talks about in his courses for
yeah.
the World Peace Diet facilitator training, is just speak from your heart, but also from your own experience. Like, this is what's helped me, and this is how I learn these things, and this is something that I'd like um, to share with the world. It's a way to engage them is to offer to maybe host an event that maybe you could host a screening of the a prayer for compassion. I mean, these are just different ways to reach out to them, to bring them something. Just like when we meet a new neighbor, we bring them something to welcome them, and maybe that's part of it. Is what can you bring them to engage them in this dialogue? Maybe you can offer to host a plant-based meal, or maybe you can uh, collaborate on some kind of event. Now, that's what we have in those Interfaith Vegan Coalition advocacy kits. It's all pages of ideas of things like that, like what to do. So the how question that you asked, um, we have some of the answer to those questions are in the advocacy kit. So the way we've organized it is you can look up your specific denomination on the website, and then you can read some ideas, quotes, stories, event ideas, books, videos, resources that are very specific just to your tradition. And so if you were, say, for example, talking to a friend who was Catholic, you could look up the Catholic kit and bring that to their attention, and maybe approach the people who are the administrators of that church. If you were approaching someone who's Jewish, you could bring in the Jewish advocacy kit. So they just provide very religious specific resources and stories and tales and songs, things like that, that you can start that dialogue, and you'll have some content to have that discussion. Um, but I think volunteering to co-host and create something is a great way to bring about change.
Well, thank you for that, because I was a little hesitant on that because of, the pushback. But you're right. I mean, it's a meal, and who turns down a meal, especially when you can show them. I mean, visually, when you stimulate the senses of what vegan lifestyle is, and then you get out of the preconceptions and you get out of the mind and you go right to the senses, and they're right in the present moment and say, my gosh, I imagined, but it looks so good and it smells so good.
Hmm.
So I think, yeah, that is a great idea. Now, I did have a question about, because one of the attendees mentioned the Unity Church, and how she, as soon as she started bringing it up, like she was the one that like shut down, didn't even want to discuss it. Do you have something for churches that are more progressive, but kind of have not made that connection as well?
Yes, we do. We actually have a kit on our website that is for the Unity Church. And we also have some that are in the works. People, I think, are doing a Unitarian Universalist advocacy kit. So it's kind of an ongoing process. I think we have an
Okay.
Islamic kit there. So you can on the website see the ones that are there. If there's one missing, you can volunteer to like help put it together. So the people who put them together are just like you and me, who they were part of the religion, and they decided that they wanted to pull together a lot of the resources that many of us have gathered over the years to try to reach out to our fellow practitioners. And so we have all different traditions, including, I think, either we have one or one in the works for even like a earth-based pagan tradition. So the idea is that there's something for everyone. Um, and so that gives you some tools right away that you can use, and and then maybe even pairing the event. Like if you have vegan food, for example, at an event that addresses something spiritual that they might really be interested in. So maybe it's
Mm.
a discussion. If you want to bring in social justice, you could have a panel discussion about certain social justice issues or parenting or something along those lines, and then have a vegan meal. And you can say, we're having a vegan meal today, a plant-based meal, because you can explain why you're doing it. In fact, That's what our Interfaith Vegan Coalition did at the Charter for Compassion banquet for the Parliament. We actually were able to supply through a generous donation from it's a company called Good Dot Foods. They put together, they have some vegan alternative um, or plant-based meat, let's call it. And so what they did is they provided the food. We had a vegan chef who put together a menu, and then we were able to put together this banquet, and that was vegan. And then because of that, we talked about it. We talked about why we did that, because we were encouraging compassion for all living beings, and that a lot of the World Peace Diet, it's named that because peace starts on our plate. So it's a good forum for just introducing that idea. Um, so that might be something to do.
Oh, I love that idea. Thank you for that. I'm already starting to think about what we could do. Thank you.
Yeah, yeah. I think it's nice to bring people in and then to offer some food there as well. The other thing you could do, and this would go for any of the people involved in different groups. So here, I'm in the Southern California area, and we discovered that there's a SoCal Parliament group. So there's an existing group of interfaith leaders who meet that are connected to the Parliament of World Religions, and they have events too locally. So I reached out to them and was able to table at one of their events. And then when they had opportunities to share what you're doing in your work, we were able to share about the Interfaith Vegan Coalition, about the kits, about inviting people to take their compassion um, to how about embrace all living beings in their circle of compassion. And so there may be opportunities that are already within your reach and your community just by seeing what other events are going on and how can I participate in them. Because when we participate, we bring our voice, we bring our heart, soul, and also we bring our values. So I think that's another way to, you can plan an event, but you can also participate in an event that's going on. Even something like a faith-based uh, day, like they may have some kind of, I'm thinking of it like Earth Day, but more of a faith-based version of that, where they may have an existing event, such as the Unity Convention or the Jaina Convention, but there might be other even smaller events that go on within the faith community that you can access locally just by participating. A lot of them will offer opportunities to table for a very small fee. We can help you with providing information and brochures and materials if you want as well, so that you have some things to share. Um, so that's another strategy that I've found really helpful, just to get involved, you know.
Yes, yes. I never even thought about that. Thank you for that.
Yeah, you're welcome. Yeah, and I just want to also acknowledge, because Beth's here with us, that she actually was our fabulous graphic designer who put together all of our Interfaith Vegan Coalition materials for the Parliament and beyond. And so just wanted to mention, if anybody does want to create your own materials, you can check with Beth. Um, Also wanted to hear from you, Beth. Anything you want to share to contribute to the conversation? Not sure if she might be muted. Sometimes when we enter this webinar, we're automatically muted. So um, I can unmute everybody, but it's also up to each person if they want to. And I understand people may not be up for that. But if you'd like to, please feel free to share. Also wondering if um, I'm so sorry, I forgot your name, but the person with the 650 area code, would you like to jump in and mention a few things?
This is Gina with 650
Gina,
code.
thank you, Gina.
What did you want me to share on?
Well, I was just wondering if you had any feedback for Jackie, who was reaching out with some questions about how to engage the community, because it sounds like you have some experience with that. And then also, I believe Reverend Robert had a question earlier, just trying to reach out from beyond the faith-based community, beyond the vegan people in the faith-based community to the rest of the faith-based community. So if you had any insight or ideas, that would be great.
Okay, so I can say from my experience with the Thich Nhat Hanh tradition Buddhist community that I'm part of in the Bay Area, my own experience, and then having heard from Kim Sterla, who runs Animal Place, who's also part of the larger Sangha, that one of the best things is just to come to potlucks, come to events that are already happening and bring vegan food. And so people will ask, what this lovely dish is and how you could make it. And so that's one way. If people want to just do something that, like, I think what somebody else mentioned, that through their senses appeals to people and they get introduced to it, and it's not that hard to do, right? In the Jain community, I've been vegan for 20 some years, 27 or something like that years, and I learned about veganism because there was an animal rights convention at a Jain ashram. And so bringing events into your community, introducing animal rights activists can be really effective if you can find sort of an entree that people can agree to, right? So, and that's what we're also doing at the Jaina convention. We're inviting people that are involved in various ways, and we've done this throughout the years, whether they're, PCRM or they're Sangeeta Kumar, who was another vegan activist with PETA for a while, or we're inviting Ingrid Newkirk this year, or people that are already also faith-based, like Will Tuttle and Silas Rao are coming, and we're also now stressing climate change. I guess that would be the other thing, is sort of trying to align with interfaith climate change initiatives. The Jain community doesn't have a position on climate change. Many of the others do. And many of the ones that have positions on climate change make an explicit link to veganism and vegetarianism. There was a interfaith prayer for climate change in the Bay Area last summer and in Grace Cathedral, and many of the faith communities had people within them that took pledges to go vegan. And just hearing that commonality, it was quite refreshing that people were making that connection. And I feel like some of the vegan activist organizations are also taking the climate change tack because there seems to be more social consensus that this is an issue that we should address, and that we should, as faith-based communities, also do something about. So I guess everything from bringing vegan scones or kale salad to your potluck, or inviting speakers. People are already doing this, right? You're already, screening movies and things like that, to tying in the connection with climate change. I feel like that's the contemporary issue that a lot of communities are already taking note of. And I also agree that all of these faith communities talk about compassion, and this idea about extending the circle of compassion is an important one. I don't have the answers. I've been trying for a while with my own community to get more Jains to go vegan. It's happening slowly. The center that's hosting the Jain convention, the Jain Center of Southern California, made an announcement last year that it was going to be the first Jain Center in North America to go vegan, which is amazing. But we still have a challenge. They haven't agreed that the convention is going to be vegan. Salish and I have been talking about this. I've tried to send messages to the people that are the conveners and trying to make it vegan. It wouldn't be that hard. We're already vegetarian. A lot of Indian food is already vegan, but there's a resistance. I don't exactly know how to get to it, but I'm just trying different ways to persist. It takes time.
Well, that's very exciting. All the things that you're doing and those suggestions are great. So perfect for, hopefully we're all taking notes on these ideas, bringing
And
in that.
I guess,
Yeah.
sorry. One other thing I was thinking about is the digital natives, right? The younger people are really active on social media. So we have friends that are doing WhatsApp groups that are providing like a lot of resources for vegans. And I feel like Facebook is maybe like a little bit less used, but you're doing Facebook Live now, so maybe that's not true. Also, kind of getting different channels of communication activated, if possible, within your community would also be good.
Excellent suggestions. These are just cutting edge, doing what's happening right now, talking about climate change. And Dr. Silas Rao, who many of us know on this call, he put together a webinar series that anyone can access, and it is offering a connection between, climate change and I think also spirituality. So that might be engaging for our audiences, the people that we're trying to reach. It's going on, I think it's for 6 weeks or something along those lines. I can try to find the link and put it here in our chat box. Um, so
Lisa,
that,
I'm sorry. I just want to, if I can, it starts this Saturday, and it's the second Saturday of every month, starting February. It's at 10 a.m. live, and for those that can't make it from 10 a.m., he'll do it again that same day, 10 p.m.
oh, that is great. That's fabulous. Let's see if I can get to the, let's see if I can find the link to that, because I know that it's going on, and it's something that is a great resource. I mean, that's something we could bring into these faith-based communities. Let's see here. I think I found it, so I'll go ahead and just post it here, and I'll be sure to put this into the live feed as well, so people can do this. Just going to put free monthly webinar series on how not to go extinct, which sounds like an important topic. So I'll put that here, and then again, I'll share it. There we go. So this message that I just shared is actually from Dr. Rao, so he's the person using his voice when it says I'll be contacting. And so there's the link in the chat box, and as I mentioned, I will share that on the live version too. Great. So let's see if there's there was another idea, and maybe this can be the final idea that we share together on this live version of the talk. It's can we touch on the idea that some vegans may be not welcoming to people of faith? So how do we manage that, since many of us on the call are vegan? How do we handle that when a lot of our vegan allies, our fellow vegans, may not be welcoming to the people of faith if they did want to come into our communities? Any feedback, any ideas? Well, I'm thinking that for there are some people, just like in all communities, people have different values and beliefs. I think that we may find that there are more and more vegans who are aligning with spirituality. I think that is something, maybe it could be general spirituality, or it could be a specific faith-based tradition. But I think that might be an important thing to talk about. For example, the Animal Rights Conference, which is going to be happening in July, I think what you just mentioned is a really key issue to bring up there. And so that was mentioned by Reverend Robert Doshio. I just want to make sure I'm pronouncing your name correctly. But this is such an important topic. Like, how do we as a community embrace people who want to join it, even if because they are religious, they might want to join it because it's part of their value system to be compassionate, and we want to be welcoming to them, and not criticize or reject or close the door on them when they, have made a big effort to reach out. So I think having, just like when you create, you create the house, as they say, people will join, but you have to have the door open. So what we want to do is talk to our fellow vegans, other people, and just encourage them to be kind and compassionate to those who are religious, and maybe not to, just like in our communities, we're also working on intersectionality and being mindful of everybody's various, you know, uh, values, orientations, preferences of all kinds. So we want to be acknowledging of people who are religious as well. Like, they come with their values and they want to be honored and respected. as part of our community. So one thing that we started, so people who have joined us on our vegan spirituality page, we started a community called Vegan Spirituality, and the idea is to be welcoming to people of all faiths who want to embrace compassion for all living beings. And so that's a connection right there. There are vegan spirituality communities that meet monthly to explore veganism as a spiritual practice in different areas. We also have an online version that we do every month, the second Thursday, actually. It'll be next week. So we've been doing this for a few years. I just want to mention we do have a few of these communities in Arizona, since we seem to have some people from there on our call today. We do have one in Tucson. I think there's one in Phoenix. And these are people who have been meeting monthly to welcome people of different faiths who want to align and find common ground over their veganism.
Lisa, if it's okay if I can talk about what we've been doing here in
Yes,
Phoenix.
please do. Please do.
So Souls Unfolding, the vegan church, and we use the word church in quotes because it seems to be a trigger for people. We kind of refer to as a vegan interspiritual or interfaith community where we meet weekly, and we have service Sunday mornings. We have booths at the veg festival. So we'll have booths. We had the Martin Luther King celebration and street fair. We had a booth there. And when we talk about it in a way that non-judgment, so we welcome all faiths because when we talk about how we all are talking the same language, we just have forgotten. So when we approach it that way and in honoring and welcoming your faith, we don't look at it as different. We just look at it as a different manifestation of the same core values. And so we have our booths, and we use it as an interspiritual group. We invite everyone to come. It's welcome, no judgment. And we have found a lot of people that are no longer feel welcome in their home church, but miss the community, miss the ability to sit in prayer and in silence in a community of openness and be able to, their core reason for there is to fight for the climate, is to fight for the animals. And when we approach it that way and we talk about it in that way, we have found a lot of people really curious and interested and have come to visit. So
Wow.
It started to grow in that way. And we're so grateful because we have Buddhists, we have Hindu, we have atheists, we have Catholics, Jewish, and all coming in. And when we're sitting there, we're so open to the conversation of one another. And then they feel empowered when they go back to their communities because they feel they do have that one space where they can just be themselves and be honored for their own faith.
Yes, exactly. That is such a perfect example. Thank you so much for sharing. I was in Mesa for the Vegan World 2026 conference that was hosted by
Yes,
Dr.
I remember.
Sandra.
I met you there.
Yes, that's so exciting. It's so cool. So I got to experience the Souls Unfolding service that Sunday morning, and it was just like really a dreamy in a way. It's what we all hope to manifest, and it's happening right now in your community. So thank you so much for sharing all these great resources and events and ideas that you're already doing. And then we also have, the vegan spirituality groups that meet, and these are really individual based on the leader of the group, what they want to share. They might be doing a meditation. They might be bringing in a speaker to talk about veganism and spirituality. I know in our group we've brought in, we partnered with Dharma Voices for Animals and brought in Geshe, I'll have to try to remember his full name, but he visited us from Tibet, and we had 75 people come to hear him speak, and Geshe was talking about animal activism as a Buddhist in his country. And so sometimes there's like events that we can plan, and we can really bring people together. And we're building that community. We're co-creating it. We're creating that. It's really a welcoming group of people who are open to embracing other people who want to experiment and try and learn more about compassion for all living beings. And I think that being that receptive community and showing up and getting involved in the other communities is a big part of it. So one thing we've talked about is at one of the meetings or discussions that we had, we talked about the idea of going back to church, going back to synagogue, going back to temple, go back to these places that maybe many of us in our efforts to find our true voice for the animals, to find our tribe, we have left those venues, we've left those places. When we return with our sense of confidence, with our sense of connection to the larger community, then we can bring this. We can get engaged with what's going on there and start um, to really bring this awareness into the places that really need it the most. So, and it can be something simple. I know when I was in Philadelphia, I was part of a Jewish community there, and they had a break the fast for Yom Kippur, and I noticed there wasn't anything for me to eat there that was vegan. So I had a meeting with the rabbi who was lovely, and I explained just that I didn't feel that welcome because there wasn't any food that I could eat there. And she just opened her heart and said, wow, she never thought about it. It just wasn't something that crossed her mind. And once she knew, then they would have a spread of vegan things. And then over time, as we continue in these communities, you never know. It could expand into a vegan event. So there's a group called Shemaim Yevaharetz. I might have the name wrong, but what they're doing is they're putting together a really innovative idea, which is to they're offering it's a vegan challenge for synagogues, so that the whole synagogue goes vegan for like a year. And there was a synagogue in Toronto that Macomb that took the challenge and went vegan, and now they're continuing it. So there are ways that we can even engage our faith-based communities to take these challenges. And it may not mean that every individual has adopted a vegan diet, but it means that their events are vegan, and that is one step closer to having a vegan world. So, wow. Also, so Trish was mentioning about the link for Geshe-la. So So Geshe-la is one of the so Dharma Voices for Animals. They have members who are Buddhist leaders around the world who have pledged or who are vegan, who are part of their organization. So Geshe-la is definitely one of the members of that group. So stay tuned. I will get that information for you. And I want to let you know if anyone here has any questions about something we've talked about, or you're welcome to reach out to me through the email interfaith@idausa.org, or you can go to the Interfaith Vegan Coalition website, which is interfaithvegancoalition.org, and there's a contact us page there. You can reach out there. We also have a Facebook group called Interfaith Vegan Coalition and our Vegan Spirituality page. So there's lots of ways to stay connected, and regularly we have a monthly online gathering, which is called a Vegan Spirituality Gathering, and that is something you're welcome to join. We interview leaders in the vegan spiritual world, such as Rabbi Yanklowitz, who initiated that vegan challenge. We've interviewed the Rabbi Aaron Levy from Macomb. We've really interviewed people across different faiths, from different Christian groups, and so there's a lot of people out there doing this kind of faith-based advocacy in the vegan world. So we're just trying to spread the word and let people know all about it. So just want to return back to our conversation, see if anyone has anything they'd like to share before we close out our conversation today. So I'll take that as a moment to say thank you to everyone who's watching, everyone who's participating. And yes, my answer, there's a little chat box question about Geshe. Yes, I think that I won't be able to pronounce that name. So Reverend Doshin, if you would like to pronounce that name out loud, that would be really helpful.
Yeah, Venerable Geshe Thupten Pelge.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. So that is the person that Dharma Voices for Animals brought to a tour actually around the United States to talk about his work. So it's wonderful to realize that we're not alone. Even our communities are not alone. We're all part of a large interfaith vegan movement around the world that is it's really beginning to take root, and that we will have a beautiful tree of life blooming um, in a short time, I believe. So thank you to everyone for joining us on this interfaith dialogue. I'm really excited and heartened to hear about what each of you are doing in your communities, and I hope that we stay connected. Um, and thank you to Reverend Ocean for sharing some wonderful links here. I'm going to go ahead and copy these. Once we complete our webinar, we won't have the ability to do that. So if you'd like to copy and paste it onto a notepad, you're welcome to do that. I'd like to take a moment, and we can continue on our call, our individuals who are here, but I would like to a bit of a farewell to our viewers who are with us live. It's been a delight to have you with us, and so I just wanted to thank you and encourage you to stay connected to our programs, and send you many, many vegan blessings. So this is something I will do. I'm going to just close our Facebook Live. So thank you all, and I hope you enjoy celebrating World Interfaith Harmony Week. So I just wanted to let you know that we've ended our live broadcast, and I think I'll go ahead and stop the recording so we can have a little bit more of an intimate conversation. I wanted to thank everyone for joining us on the replay, and please stay tuned to some of our upcoming events. We have Activist Month is going on right now for in defense of animals, so you can tune in to other events. Just go to idausa.org/activist month. So thanks so much. Bye-bye.